everybody, and welcome to Sean and Dave Make Music. This week, we're here, this month, this episode, we're here with Geoff Giordano.
Hello.
Welcome, Geoff.
Thank you.
Geoff is a guitar player and songwriter and vocalist, and kind of, you're sort of in between a hobbyist and a professional, right? We've had some hobbyists on here, we've had some pros on here, and you're somewhere in the middle, right?
It's not an intentional hobby. It's, it's what I'd like to be doing more of the time, but,
I mean, I think we're all kind of in that boat.
Yeah.
Right? Like,
exactly,
if we could all be just making careers off of making exactly the brand of music that we wanted to make, wouldn't that be sweet?
and I might even go so far as to say it's more of an obsession than a hobby, or just something that, like, hobby you usually have, like, an awesome time doing it. And
it's like a compulsion.
I ended up driving myself crazy.
Okay.
But, like, in a good way, not in a...
That makes a whole lot of sense. My first question was going to be, why do you write music?
Why do I write music?
I know it's a hard question to answer, but it's that's you already answered.
It's just sort of like the thing that I get the most satisfaction out of. You know what I mean? Like creatively, and always have. So yeah, that's definitely I could go very much farther into it.
Well, let's hear it. Yeah.
I guess I just feel like that. Ultimately, honestly, right now, like I feel like I write music because I want to write. There's things that I want to hear that I don't hear, so I have to make them.
Your motivation is pretty close to mine in a lot of ways. There's just a sound out there that doesn't exist yet, and you want to bring it into the world, right?
Yeah.
I see eye to eye with you on that. Yeah,
it's almost parental, like in a sense. It's like I just gotta
want to bring it into the world.
Yeah, exactly. So that would be the most direct answer to that.
That makes sense. Then let's talk a little bit about your process first before we go into your background. I think because you've got such a distinct sound world. I feel like that you live in, and it sounds very Geoff. I think.
Oh, nice.
We can talk about your influences. Certainly, Dave heard some more specific influences than me because I'm not super well-versed into
although it's kind of fun, though, because, for you, you were saying that you weren't necessarily directly influenced by... I heard bits of Yes, and then bits of Peter Gabriel.
Yeah.
But I'm curious, where from you, like, where...
For me, I mean, just to address those, again, like I said earlier, I like Yes and Peter Gabriel, but I've never... It's funny because other people have said that, but I don't necessarily listen to them, which is funny. So it's like, I kind of like...
Stumbled upon that.
Through the back door, I guess. And the same way with, so like chronologically, like when I was younger, I listened to like basically everything or nothing. And then like...
Wait. What does that mean?
Well, meaning like, I used to like a lot of pop music and... I'm talking about when I was younger.
Yeah, just sort of whatever hit your ears.
I loved rap when it first came out. Like I'm talking about like when it first... We're talking the 80s.
Yeah.
Anyway, that's when you're a kid and you grow up, and I started playing guitar, and then it was like, guitar music, and it was in the classic rock. Neil Young I got into like in a big way. Then I got into the Grateful Dead. That was like a big chunk of my musical, and like where I learned a lot about music.
Sure.
Bob Weir's love the Grateful Dead is one of my, I like a lot of rhythm guitar players. Your Keith Richards, The Edge, Andy Summers, Chris Cornell, like those are the guys that like I don't really play a lot of like the Hendrixy kind of like was never good at it, but then like Steely Dan, that was another thing where I got like obsessed with Steely Dan for a while, but I had to back off of it because it was like too much. And then
it's good that you didn't get stuck on the Grateful Dead. I feel like some guys discover the
it's
Grateful Dead and that's their whole musical life for the rest.
And
of
I was for a little while, for a good while, and it was like good, but it's a kind of a little bit of a black hole after a while because you just like it can be a little bit, and then you get into the jam world and it's sort of and I think it's good to be like I think your experience in that is so you can. It taught me how to like adapt musically, like learn how to like hear. Again, I'm not good at keys, but like you can play 3 chords. Like I used to sit. One of the things I used to do was I used to like sit and watch television, and I would just solo along to everything that was on television, whether it's a commercial or, a theme song or like whatever. And I would just sort of like try to match it. So it got me to the point where and then listening to Grateful Dead, listening to stuff, got me able to be like sort of know how to change a key, not even knowing how to what the keys are.
Follow your ear.
And I don't know the scales, like the names of all that stuff, but and it makes me a little bit limited in certain ways, but yeah. So then, getting back to like the Steely Dan thing, and then after that, one friend of mine, kind of like my buddy Scott Wardell, he was like a really good friend of mine, and he's since passed away, but he was a bandmate of mine, and he sort of was like the first person who's told, kind of like, he didn't explicitly teach me this, but it was like you can listen to, like you can like and listen to everything, like,
and absorb and take something from everything. And
exactly, and I know it kind of sounds elementary, but like everybody I think has a little bit of like, I want to say snobberies or whatever, but I may have been a little bit in certain ways. A little bit of like Weather Report. That was another band like I really liked. So I was like into jazz and stuff like that. But when you get into that, sometimes another black hole of like, well, if it's like something simple and I don't know, but like.
Well, I think you're touching upon something where but there's something there definitely like I think I'm in a similar vein in that I've listened to a billion different things.
Yeah.
And I know there's, at least for myself, there's that pressure that whenever you dip your foot into one genre for too much, like it's great to learn and to absorb and to try it, but then within every field, I don't know if this is new, but I feel like at least in our lifetime, every time there's another field that I want to explore, there are like
subcategories or subgenres.
Kind of. It's more like that. There's a guard of people that believe they know how the truest way to do that art form is.
Oh yeah.
So there's like inherent snobbery in every genre.
Purism.
Purism. Exactly.
Yes.
Yeah, and that can be really push people away that would have loved to get into it. Yeah.
Yeah, and it's like and that's where it's like. I at this point in my life, it's like try to get something from everything and try to love my idea of someone I guess someone at one point asked me they were talking about they're trying to write and writing original music and I was like, well, first thing you do is you learn everything and play none of it. Know everything but play none of it and just kind of let it whatever and then so when I'm writing something. And I feel like I'm getting into a Steely Dan, this is okay,
Steely Dan Hall.
Yeah, exactly. Or the Grateful Dead Hall, whatever. You know what I mean? I try to say to myself, okay, well, what would Sonic Youth do here? Something completely different. Something where or maybe I could do a reggae thing here where it's totally would not, you know what I mean? Or just try to.
Yeah.
And I don't know. I feel like that gets. At this point, I'm I got so many different things, but it's
I
it's
think
not
that's an interesting
either.
approach too. If this sounds too normal, or this sounds too much like this, purposefully messing it up in a way that can be really interesting.
And
good technique.
And try to of course the thing is to try to make it accessible too, and that's. Was my problem for a long time.
I might try. I don't think I'd do this, but I want to try this now. Of when I get writer's block, take the mental approach. I love that idea.
What would this person do here?
What would this? But pick a genre that you love that might have been in a similar spot, but then how would they work it out instead of the trajectory that I'm this is what I should do? Because right now I'm kind of like this. So how pick something left field and how would they solve that problem?
Shoulds.
Exactly.
If anything, that's just, or if nothing else, that's just a good exercise to get something on the page. Even if you don't like it, you can decide maybe you go in the direction that you quote unquote should have gone in the first place.
But you're okay, well, all their options were exhausted, and actually that was the best one. Who knows? You never know. It's you gotta try different things.
Yeah.
It's fun like that.
First up today, we've got the title track off of Geoff's new album, Ultrafauna, and he's going to tell you a little bit about it himself.
Okay, so this song is the title track to Fourth World Radio's upcoming release called Ultrafauna. It's a bit of a long song, a little over 8 minutes, but it is indeed a journey that has a big payoff. So hopefully you're all right with sitting through the 8 minutes. It is going somewhere, and it's got a good payoff. So I hope you enjoy it. The song is about a journey, so sort of apropos that it's a bit lengthy, I guess. The word ultrafauna is one that I made up. It's a twist on the term megafauna, which is a classification that zoologists give to like larger animals like whales, bears, elephants, or mammoths. In a nutshell, this song, thematically speaking, is about becoming something beyond animal, beyond man. The overall concepts and ideas behind where this song came from are a bit complicated and in-depth, and I'll be writing about them later, which I'll be putting on the website, fourthworldradio.com. Basically, the story in this song is about an awakening, realization of one's destiny, and finding the will to overpower any and all external and internal obstacles to meet this destiny. So that's about it. I will be releasing Ultrafauna sometime in May. For anyone interested in this and any previous or future material, you can check out fourthworldradio.com or Fourth World Radio on Facebook, where I will be posting a lot about it, and look for it and other albums on iTunes, Amazon, Spotify, etc. Hope you enjoy, and thanks for listening.
Take a walk.
let's talk a little bit about your process and how you put a song together, because your Fourth World Radio stuff that you put out is so intricate and so I mean, I know it's got to be a nightmare to mix. You were talking about sending things back to your mastering engineer.
Well, it's a nightmare mostly because I am learning things as I'm going. So a lot of rookie mistakes, a lot of the tracks weren't recorded as well as they could have been. So I was like fighting against that. But at the same time, I fell in love with those tracks. So like there's one song I've been working on, a bass track my friend recorded, and it's a great track, and like I love it, but it was like it was clipping and distorting, so like, and it was too late. Like this was recorded like years ago, so it was too late to get him to kind of come in and do it again. And I've been like fighting with it. But like I guess that kind of goes back to your original question about process. I mean, some of these songs, I've been writing them. Some of the songs that I've just been like recorded, I started writing in the 90s. And I'm saying like the original idea came up, and I worked with it for a while. And then
original musical idea, you mean?
Yeah, the original musical idea. So yeah, it always starts with music for me. I don't think I've ever written a lyric and then said I want to put. I mean, I've come up with words before, like because I'll write. I just write in general, short stories and lyrics, poetry. A good idea comes out, I gotta jot it down. But I've never.
Cool.
Usually it's music. An idea will come. Maybe changes, maybe not, and then like maybe a vocal idea, or I'll hear a vocal, but I'll
like
sing,
a melody, but not necessarily words,
and like maybe nonsense words, you know what I mean, like just sort of like what phonetically would sound good, and then I start the artist's task of fitting words to those phonetics and trying to write a story within that, you know what I mean, and like kind of trying to come up with an idea. It's usually like a theme, like. I don't know, like might be like evolution or, partying.
Usually come up with a big concept first.
Road trip or, you know what I mean? Like or some kind of general idea. Like one song I have is from another called Summer Wine. It's all just, the whole idea was about like the intoxication of summer, like the heat, like when things get really like, heated because it's really hot out and, whether it's a good or bad thing, but I don't know. Again, it's very vague.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
No, I mean, I think that's cool. And then after that, you basically have guitar and vocals set, and then you work on fleshing out the rest of the space.
Yeah. Well, yeah. I mean, so like a lot of these songs will like I'll have like again like the guitar or maybe keys, whatever, and a vocal part and the changes. A lot of times I'll sit down and record, and the songs are not complete lyrically or the changes even. So, but when I sit down to do them, it forces me to like examine it closer in like a more realistic way, where it's like, okay, it's got to start. I'll lay down the guitar thing, maybe a synth rhythm kind of thing. Lay down the guitar part, and then I'll see it, and I know that like, okay, I might have gone a little too long here, or whatever. I'll edit that out, but then. Maybe changes will cut. Like there'll be I'll hear a bridge or I'll hear a idea, and it's sort of like it evolves from there. It's not like a.
That's interesting too. I think like the visual aspect of it, having that whole guitar part out as a WAV file and being able to read that.
It's interesting,
helpful in a way that since you don't write your music down in notes, that's probably the equivalent of what you're doing with your formal diagram and your score.
That's another thing which like I have a lot of fun with these with like I use Logic. I was using Pro Tools, but I guess I've gone to Logic. But I think they all have this like so the MIDI capabilities of them, and it's kind of interesting. Like so like. Let's say I have a guitar part, and then, okay, I hear a keyboard, an idea. Or I'll start turning the keyboard on, put it on like a MIDI thing, and I'll play something that I hear, like sort of like, at least just to get the idea. And then I will go into the MIDI thing and just really, clean it up. And then I'll, almost like, it's like composing, really.
It is composing.
You know what I mean? I think Wayne Shorter said composition, what was it? He had a quote that was, soloing is composition sped up, and composition is soloing slowed down, or something like that. Exactly. It was something kind of like so.
Improvisation plus time.
Yeah, exactly. And and I try to do it try to not to obsess over it, and keep the original form of like what I was doing. Like you can't see me, but I'm moving my hand. But and in a way, so like a lot of it turns out really awesome. I'm like, wow, that's really cool. But like, I would never do that. Like, or I don't have the cape. I'm not like that talented.
Play that, but.
So like, I list on the album. Like, I don't feel like I'm extremely confident saying that it's me. I mean, because it's sort of a little bit of. Yeah. So I'd be like keyboards, Geoff Giordano and Juan Zanzeros. That's the name of it.
Oh, gotcha.
What?
Juan Zanzeros. Ones and zeros.
Oh, gotcha. Okay. Sorry. Yeah, that's great. That's like the perfect subtle.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's nice.
Just so I can like give myself all right, I'm not taking all credit.
Yeah.
But anyway,
I feel like it's like DOG, really.
Yeah, you're right. Cool. I wanted to ask you specifically. I didn't write down what track it was on. I should have. You used some bird sounds on Transmission 1.
Yeah.
And they seemed to me not completely random, but I wasn't sure. Were those composed? Was that a set of things that you put where you wanted, or
some of them?
Is that a track that was kind of?
Well, the track was something I heard. Somebody sent me like check this out, like this website out, and it was like the some bird conservatory place. I can tell you that it's in the album liner notes. Yeah. And it was like this amazing sound. I was just like, oh my God. And like there's like when you listen to sometimes you listen to bird song and like crickets and stuff like that, you can every once in a while hear like these underlying rhythms. Mm-hmm. And I was hearing it, I was like, oh, that'd be great to kind of like mix some synths in and like. So I actually had to get in touch with them because I couldn't download it. Like it was like something you had to get. And I didn't want to get any like legal, right? Somebody actually recorded it. It was their name.
That's my bird. You're making money off my bird.
I think they recorded it in New Zealand or something. There's a whole. It's interesting to see. I mean, they give the coordinates even where they recorded. But so yeah, I listened to it and I sort of
What's that track called, by the way?
Geez, I'm trying to think of it. It's crazy. I can't remember because it was a little while ago.
Didn't it dovetail out, or was it like did it transition into another track?
Yeah,
Dave. It dovetailed.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Into Burning Off the Wolf, and this was called
the one right
Dawn Chorus.
Okay.
But that was the name. That was what the woman who recorded that. That's what she titled that. Oh, okay. And then I called it Dawn Chorus Translation. And it's like, so basically, I sort of heard the birds, and then I sort of like added these little synths, and then I came up with this bass line just kind of underneath it. And then some of the bird now on the hits, I would I cut and paste and move the birds up. But a lot of them were actually some of the hits.
You played the birds.
Yeah.
I got
and I might have had to line it up a little bit, but go back into the MIDI thing, line it up. But I wanted it to make it sound like it was really just sort of this organic,
Yeah, I think that was a really nice bit of magic you did there with the birds because it was a cool amount of interaction without it being like you weren't using chopping them up and making a drum sample out of bird noises, but exactly. It was really effectively I think playing along with them. Yeah, that's cool.
It was again, that was one of those things where I just sort of it didn't take me that long to put together, but I sort of nobody call me.
You've got to be laser focused.
Yeah. And some of it's the shame of it is that it would be, you could perform a version of that, I thought about that and having the birds. At least you could have the track and then have some of those bird sounds put on a sample, either a rhythm or a keyboard or whatever. But I kind of I did this bass line and just sort of improv, and I stopped every once in a while. I do it, but I kept every mistake and lined it up so it was on the grid and it was in rhythm.
Yeah.
But so it's really odd. You'd have to write it all down and have some really good players.
It would be a pain to.
You couldn't just So a lot of these songs are kind of like that. Just whatever.
Yeah.
Painted myself into a corner with some of them.
A lot of the stuff that I write is like that too. None of my songs will ever be performed with every track that is recorded on there.
Yeah. And hey, there's two different forms of things.
That's why they're recording.
For our first collaborative track today, we have our version of the Game of Thrones theme in honor of our years-long obsession with this show, and honestly because it's on our minds a lot of the time right now. If you're listening to this in the future, just know that it's a really crazy time in the world right now, but in the midst of all this political turmoil and environmental degradation, a lot of us are also really invested in and enthralled by this groundbreaking show. I'm sure if you're not a fan of it, you've already heard way too much about it, so hopefully you can at least appreciate our arrangement. We laid down the foundation of this track with Dave on drums, Geoff on guitar, and me providing a very simple bass part. Then Geoff overlaid a second guitar part, and after our session, I multi-tracked in the flutes and tambourine, and Dave added in some djembe. I also ended up using a chain for some extra percussion to kind of represent the army of the dead marching on. Glad I never threw that old chain wallet away, because that was the only decent-sounding chain I could find in my house. I also did 6 separate flute tracks for this, 2 standard flute tone, and 4 of airy residual tones. Maybe that's going a bit overboard, but I think it provides us a subtle amount of depth and drama to the arrangement. I also noticed while mixing this that the flute parts sound really awesome and haunting when isolated from everything else. So, if you're a flute nerd or even just a regular person and you want to hear that version, share this episode on social media, the social media of your choice, and or write us a review on iTunes, and we'll send you a link to stream or download it. That's like premium content, but for free. Or like a secret bonus track if you were to buy a CD. Can you imagine in this day and age? If you choose to write us a review rather than sharing, just send us an email or Facebook message so we can know where to send a link. SeanandDaveMakeMusic@gmail.com or Facebook.com/SeanandDaveMakeMusic. So please enjoy this track and the rest of the final season of Game of Thrones. Valar Morghulis.
Speaking of live performance, you do have a band, you play live. Is this your own project, or is it what kind of live performing do you do at this point? Is it multiple projects?
Yeah, I guess. Well, right now, I'm playing with a band, playing guitar in a band called. It's my friend Genesis. That's his name. His name is Genesis, and I laugh about that because people always ask him. He's gonna hate me for me laughing. People always ask him, "Is that your real name?" And he's like, "No, that's my real name."
Is he named after the Sega or the band or? Sorry,
I went edit that out.
Okay.
Jenna tried. I don't know. Anyway, Genesis and the Black Mama is the name of the band. Awesome band. He's a great songwriter. I'm playing guitar, which is kind of like the first time in a long time that I've been playing guitar in a band. Mm-hmm. I was playing keys in a reggae band. I still play every once in a while in the summer.
What's that band
That band's called Jacklight Move. We do some stuff down in like the Jersey beaches, sometimes in Philadelphia. It's kind of like reggae covers and stuff like that. Great guys, a lot of fun. And then, but we only do that in the summertime, and at this point, very occasionally. But this band with Genesis C, it's been really cool. It's gone through a few different formations of the personnel. But it's kind of like funk rock, Billy Idol meets Prince, like kind of weird, like, you know,
Okay.
very, like very kind of like an 80s sound, but a little more funk, James Brownish kind of stuff. But hard, we're kind of loud.
James Brown was kind of loud.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it's been a lot of fun playing with it. I mean,
That's cool. How long have you been playing with those guys?
For about a year now. And a little actually, geez, maybe almost 2 years. I have to think about it. But
Is that all originals?
a lot of originals, some covers, which is, you know, again, it's like some Prince songs, some James Brown, Billy Idol. Try to pick the ones that kind of go along with the theme.
Yeah.
Some NXS, that kind of stuff, but like dancey kind of stuff. And, but yeah, it's been cool.
Nice.
It's different. It's good to be able to play guitar for me. Just kind of haven't really had a chance to do that, and it enables me to get my style across, because I'm not really playing. I'm playing some leads, but I'm getting to play rhythm, which is kind of my strength, and I've gotten a lot of positive feedback from it, which is like cool, because I feel like I have a kind of a different style, and
For sure. Yeah, I think
The
you got a very distinctive.
Yeah.
the people out
Rhythmic
there
style, I
are
think.
Good
noticing
pocket,
it,
that's
and
the-
like it feels good. So it's it's kind of
Yeah.
a cool situation. Glad to be doing it.
What's been your history with playing live? I know you said you used to do a lot of like solo.
Yeah, I played some
playing
solo
as well.
acoustic, your bar and restaurant gigs. And,
Did you have a band in high school? Is that how you got your start
Well,
playing out? How did you get your start playing live?
Well, let's see. I guess the solo acoustic stuff I kind of did because I was like, I kind of needed to make money at some point, and I was like, well, there's a lot of songs I like to play, and why don't I just do that? And sort of got into that a little bit for a while. I mean, it was kind of like, but my problem that I ran into though was that I only played songs that were like the songs I wanted to play, and I'm not going to be playing like, I never got any gigs at like the bars in like downtown Wilmington or Trolley Square or whatever, where it's like kids kind of going out and partying. Like, I don't know those songs.
Gotcha.
Right,
You know what I mean?
yeah. Right.
I'm playing like Neil Young downers, but like, or maybe not so much, but I got to go like good restaurant gigs and stuff like that, because I would play kind of chill, jazzier kind of stuff, and
Gotcha.
always got a good response. But I got a little bored with that after a while, because it's just playing by
Yeah,
myself.
it's a job.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and it got too much of a job, so I kind of took a break. But I did have I had, I guess, a band in high school, but really my first band was this band called Crazy Saints, which was, we played down in Newark, played a handful of shows and three other really great musicians, but we couldn't like get it together.
Yeah, as
That kind of
often
thing.
happens. What kind of style was that?
It was like
Same kind of funk
yeah,
rock.
well, jazz fusion rocks, but like songs, not like we didn't
Right.
go
right, right.
off. So it was kind of like that kind of thing, and then that fizzled out. I actually kind of gave up on music for a little while, like just not gave up on it, but just sort of was like, I want to check out some other things, start to learn about film, and then realized that wasn't for me. It was too much, to do. And then another friend of mine, we had a band called Maximum Angel, which was we were out of Westchester. My friend Scott, that I mentioned earlier, and that was really like that guy who taught me, who I said taught me how to listen to everything. Like, he was really into my music and like helped me condense them, like the songs that were that I was like rambling on about, which I'm doing right now. So that was another great thing. And then I don't know. After that, just been recording.
Gotcha.
You know, trying to bring it down to wrap it up quick.
Well, I think like recording versus live playing has such different challenges, different rewards, and
absolutely
different skills. I think
Yeah.
And people don't. I think probably people wouldn't think to realize how different those things are.
And also like what you can explore, because like the length of a track and stuff, like if you're in a recording session or a recording situation, like somebody sitting at home listening over an album is much more ready for like, all right, let's take this 7-minute journey. Whereas if you're playing out in a live setting, they're gonna
you gotta have a really special audience.
Yeah, exactly. Like that tune better be wrapped up at 4.5 minutes, or you've lost them most likely. You know, like a long journey and stuff.
Yeah, like or you gotta, or at least learn how to like keep on adding new elements enough, like, and like maybe drastic enough that people are like, oh, well, you know what I mean?
Keep their
huge
attention.
sections that move.
Yeah. Like I feel like actually the live thing, it could go the other way though. Because
for the jam bandy, or
well, I mean, in the sense that like if people are out, they're sort of they've made it a little bit of a commitment to like go out. Maybe they're going to see, maybe they're just out to drink or something like that. But if you're now this is the challenge. I'm kind of coming to from the recording to the live. I'm going to try to get a band together to play these songs, or at least versions of them. And so that's what I have to think about, because a lot of these songs are long. They're looking at 6 or 7 minutes. I think my shortest song is 5 minutes, at least that I've recorded so far. But I think you have to keep the dynamics good, and keep on adding elements. Keep if you're going to build it up, so that like you keep that on. Like I think they're already there. I think actually, let's say if people are home, I'll just turn on the television. Like they have there's no obligation like at all. So, like, a lot of people sometimes just feel bad walking out of the room, you know what I mean?
Oh,
gotcha. So I think that's a challenge I'm going to have to find. But yeah, there's differences, and, like, I hope I can bridge that gap.
Yeah, it's hard. I hope so, too.
Just got to get the right players. I guess that's where I'm
And the right venues, I think, is another big thing to find where your sound is going to be.
The right gigs, not all the gigs.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I don't want to, bar gigs I'm a little done with, but...
They're fun, but they have their... Yeah. I remember when it comes to the longer form stuff, gigs.
No.
Like,
you're right on that.
Yeah. Like, I mean, the one thing that you can get away with, though, is like when you reach that, there's that point of no return in the evening when the bartender wants you to keep going to 2 a.m. And there's only about like 5 people really there for the music at that point. The rest are like the late night drunks at that point. Yeah. And so at that point, it's like, you know what? Let's take a Dead tune or an Allman Brothers tune. We're going to spin this out. We got 25 minutes right there.
I know that trick.
And the ones that are still there, they love that you went and did it.
Yeah.
And the rest...
Well, because their concept of time has been a little bit warped.
Exactly.
They're all in.
That's when you can really... That's when you can really savor your solos,
One more song.
It's a mountain jam, anything?
Right? I don't want to go home.
Next up, we have a tune of Geoff's called Glitchcraft that Dave and I helped flesh out during our session. Geoff had the rhythm guitar part and the structure already down, so I hopped on the drums and Dave added a really cool bass part. We recorded the 3 of those together, then afterwards I dubbed in some tenor sax and valve trombone, and Geoff added the lead guitar part. I'm pretty sure this is the first tenor sax part that I've recorded and released since I've gotten this new Greg Weir metal mouthpiece. It was a huge change from the classical one I was used to, but I've been trying to develop my sound, and specifically, I've been trying to achieve that sound of the tenor sax solos that show up in almost every 80s and 90s sitcom. I'm not quite there yet, but I'm pretty happy with the way these turned out.
The last thing I kind of had on my list here, I think, to talk about was a little bit about your voice history. When did you start singing?
Oh.
Did you always sort of just have it?
No.
Were you kind of able to sing? Did you have to train yourself there?
Go
ahead. No. And well, I'll say my 2-part question, and then I'll let you ramble as much as you want. In a good way. Podcasts are for rambling. We say interesting. Thank you for being here, by the way.
Thank you for having me.
Then I want you to talk a little bit about the vocal processing that you do on your tracks, because I think you've got a very distinctive sound to your vocals. You use pretty long reverbs in general. You've got harmonization on a lot, maybe all of what you do. Is that all you? Was there any harmonization pedal that you used in there? Do you just sing really tight harmonies with yourself all the time? What's going on there?
Well, I'll answer backwards since you ended on that
Sound
one.
good.
And that
Sounds good.
A lot of so I'll record oftentimes my own harmonies. Sometimes I use a vocoder, there's a vocoder effect on in Logic. I'll use that sometimes if it sounds right. There was one song, that song "Burning Off the Wolf." I used there's a Digitech pedal that I randomly came across, and it had this I think it was like a CSN, like Crosby, Stills and Nash setting, and it just worked really well with that song and it was cool because that song was a little bit heavier from what I usually do, with a little more it was definitely like a Soundgarden inspired feel for me. But then I have the Crosby, Stills and Nash vocals over certain parts of that. That's to me, I love that. I love that contrast, and it sounded good. So in that instance, I used a pedal, but a lot of times I try to get to do it myself.
Overdubbing, yeah. Some
of them I try to get, it's a little too high for me, and I've never. Yeah, so to answer the initial question, I've always been. I've struggled with singing, you know what I mean? I didn't just, naturally come to me, and
some people
I never
like
took
that,
lessons, right? Yeah, I never took lessons or anything like that, and I feel like now at 44 years old, I think I am, I'm singing better than I ever have, which usually I think it's usually the opposite. Usually people have can hit notes when they're younger, and they can't do it when they're older. Not that I'm old, but I'm definitely. I just learned where to put the air in my, my nasal cavities and all. But it's a hit or miss sometimes. But
and as far as tone, are there any vocalists who you kind of use to help shape your voice? That's something that I've struggled with. Is I could make my voice sound a million different ways and not sing in tune in any one of them. But
I tried to. Honestly, I think. I don't really have any vocal, there's nothing I try to emulate. Gotcha. Sometimes I admit, although I can't, again, it's a range thing that I can't hit, but the Chris Cornell, I love, his voice was just I just love it. And I love his, the ferocity of it, and how and some of the notes he hit, but it's more the attack that I was, and again, it's the kind of thing where I would love to hear that sound, but I don't want to emulate. So I try to figure something out. But I just sort of had my own thing.
Cool. Yeah. Just sort of figuring it out along the way.
Yeah. Another effect I do use is a doubler pedal. I always they say sometimes if you record things twice and then you sort of match them up, but I was never good at really keeping.
So a lot of times you'll just sing through a doubler pedal.
Yeah, and then it kind of just gives it a little bit of depth.
Yeah.
So that's
okay.
I
think that
thought about that.
Solves the mystery of how you get that vocal sound.
Yeah, definitely.
Next, we have an improvisation for you. This one features Dave on bass, Geoff on guitar, and myself on flute. Afterwards, I went back and multi-tracked some drums to give a little bit more body to the recording. Not the easiest thing to do because, as usual, we didn't record to a click track, but I think it adds enough to the song to have made it worth doing. And we didn't plan this, but we quickly realized that we settled into a very Jethro Tull, locomotive, breath-like vibe. Ian Anderson was never my biggest flute influence, but it certainly is fun to play in that kind of modal rock space. So please enjoy Sean and Dave and Geoff Make Jethro Tull music. Is there any project that's up here in your mind that you haven't brought to fruition yet that's like, this is going to be my opus?
I guess yes. Hell yes. I mean, it's, all of it. I mean, the recordings are kind of like, I still kind of consider them demos. I mean, in the sense of, even though geez, are you really driving yourself nuts over a demo? But I mean, so they're not demos, but they're just interpretations of songs, but I want to get them live.
Okay.
And dream project, ideally, and endless supply of cash kind of like situation.
Yeah.
Win the lottery kind of situation. Yes. I don't know if you have Netflix, have you seen the Hans Zimmer show, like concert? There's a Hans Zimmer.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
He has a show on Netflix, and it's him with like a rock orchestra, like the best of the best, violin players, some incredible guitar players. So the guy from Incubus is one of them, and this guy Guthrie. Gustav, I can't remember his name. Anyway, incredible players, but like a huge orchestra. I mean, with like, a drummer, 2 percussionists, piano, full choir, strings, horns, the whole thing. And it's just like this amazing, and any musician or non-musician, I recommend watching this because it's like one of the coolest things I've ever seen. And
so is it a concert movie? Or
it's a concert movie, yes.
Oh, okay.
It's I think it was filmed in Prague.
So is it his music? Or
it's his music, yeah. For like Dark Knight, he does like that.
Oh, gotcha, yeah.
Lion King, Thin Red Line, there's a bunch of Pirates of the Caribbean, like all these different movies and stuff. But it's really like these big pieces,
Expansive,
but it's really
huge,
intense music, but also very emotional at times too, and or at all times. But it's just, and it goes through all these different highs and lows, and the musicianship is incredible, and that's the kind of band. It's not a band. I mean, that's an orchestra.
The forces that you want.
I would love to have.
Army.
I would love to have like a situation like that. Maybe not as big, but I mean.
No, this is your dream project.
Dream project, yeah. I mean,
to realize
to
your
orchestrate
music
something like that.
Yeah,
it's like I don't know. I'd be like, okay, can somebody else do this? But having something like that, and a Vegas residency. Okay, I can do that. Like, I mean, I don't have to go anywhere. I don't have to travel. Yeah. That would be honest to God. That would be like maybe not Vegas, but someplace where it was like that's where I'm going to be.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean?
Not
like that's where it's, you know what I mean.
country,
That and like. Broadcast a show from there. Like I would even go so far as to say, okay, let's put up a radio station in there and have other bands and make a whole thing out of it. And I don't know.
Cool.
But yeah, hey, see what happens. You got a couple $1 million?
I have.
Is this leading up to some kind of big check?
No.
Damn.
Drop the balloons, Dave.
Yeah.
Well, I think that's about it.
We're good. Yeah, we hit all the main points.
Cool.
I'm glad you touched on the vocal part too, because I was curious about that.
Definitely.
The vocals. Yeah.
Thanks,
Any other thing you want to say on the air?
Well, I guess.
Or things you want to promote?
Plug.
There's this new record. It's again, I say new, but I've been working on it for 8 years. Been writing some of the songs for 10. But and I put it out on Facebook, but it wasn't mixed. I just wanted to get it out of my head. It was going crazy. But I've realized I made a couple of mistakes, big mistakes on a mastering level, on a mixing level. So now it sounds like really much fuller and lighter. But anyway, so I'm kind of like officially putting it out there. I'll be putting it on Facebook. It's called Ultrafauna.
Not Transmission 2?
Not Transmission 2. No, we're not going to do a number 2. But this one's called...
I made my dumb joke and I forget what it's really called. What it's actually called?
It's called Ultrafauna.
Ultrafauna. Okay,
Which is like a play on megafauna, which is like large animals. Ultrafauna is like beyond animal. So it's kind of like a weird, Okay. There's a whole story behind it, and I'm not going to do a storytelling session right now because we'll be here for another hour.
Buy the record and you'll
and exactly. That's kind of so that's I'll be putting out. I have the fourthworldradio.com. I have that. I haven't updated it for a little while.
Fourth spelled out F-O-U-R.
F-O, yes, correct. And but what I try to do on that website, and you can see this on for the previous album, Transmission 1, was that I'll kind of write about my both the writing process and like the ideas and the themes and the stories somewhat that are behind the songs. Kind of do one for each song.
Awesome. Cool.
So, and then I have the lyrics, of course, because everybody's like, you don't put your lyrics up as much in the music, and you got to speak a little bit clearly. And I'm like, you know what? No, vocals are part of the music, so I'm not into the putting it out front. So I want to try to get people to read the lyrics, go to the website, read the lyrics. But
sure.
So this new record, Ultrafauna, I'll be putting it, it'll be dropping with big quotes finger quotes in the air pretty soon.
Cool.
Like a month or so.
Do you think when this is going to be of May before May?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'm aiming for that.
Cool. And we'll put the links up.
Yeah, we'll put all your links up.
Cool.
We'll have a preview track on here. So.
Great. Thank you so much.
Yeah, totally. You're welcome. Thanks again for joining us. This was really fun.
Yeah. I hope I didn't ramble too much.
No, that's exactly
It is the spirit of the medium.
Yeah, exactly.
Right.
All right, awesome. Cool. Thanks.
Thank you.
And thank you for listening. To hear more of Geoff's music, check out fourthworldradio.com or click the other links in the show notes. His music's available on Spotify and iTunes and all the other streaming services. And as always, if you like our show, please be sure to rate, review, and subscribe, and share with your friends and colleagues if you think they might be into what we do. If you have questions or comments or would like to submit a prompt for us to improvise off of, please send us an email at seananddaveMakeMusic@gmail.com. You can also find us on Facebook at facebook.com/seananddaveMakeMusic, and we've also just gotten an Instagram recently. I've just been kind of doing a retrospective of the old shows that we've done. I haven't really posted too much new stuff yet, but we'll get there. Sean and Dave Make Music on Instagram as well. And don't forget, if you want to hear the flute choir version of Game of Thrones, share this episode and tag us, or write us a review and email us, and I'll send that right to you. Thanks again for listening. See you next month.